And
Hey,
we are live.
yes, we are. SoundMinds Sunday, right back at you. Your favorite Sunday show. You know what I mean? You guys are definitely getting acquainted with the SoundMinds family and getting acquainted with everything that happens SoundMinds related. Um, Very heavy week, so we're gonna get into that. I am LiteSkin, LITESKIN stands for living it through every situation known in nature.
And I am King Ra, aka King Ra Shaman. You can follow me at King underscore Ra Shaman. And we got Self Suffice. He on mute right now, driving the whip. Let him know, Self Suffice rap poet. You gotta unmute yourself. Let him know you on the road.
So that's self-suffice rap poet on Instagram. Um, as he's getting to what he needs to get to, he's gonna definitely come through, and then we're gonna speak some science. So this week's topic, as we put out since Wednesday, is lack of leadership, the real LOL. So it's a question in regards to leadership, in regards to many facets of life. Um, Heavy week, as I said, we are going through a universal situation going on across the states in the United States, right? So Rashaman did a great job of finding something that is so pertinent to right now. And I think we're going to show that, and then we're going to get back into it.
Most def. This is definitely piggybacks off of, what we are witnessing not only right now, what's going on today, in the with the protesting, for the justice for George Floyd. But George Floyd is another, unfortunate, example of the change that we really need to see, and an example of the cycle that has been continuing for so long. And there's only one person that we can really bring up right now that's been back in 1966, gave a very powerful message. And I really want to get into that by Martin Luther King. Check this out, family. Share screen real quick. Hold on, here it comes. Check this out.
I think we've got to see that a riot is the language of the unheard. And what is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the economic plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years.
How many summers like this one do you imagine that we can expect?
Well, I would say this: we don't have long. The mood of the Negro community now is one of urgency, one of saying that we aren't going to wait, that we've got to have our freedom. We've waited too long. So that I would say that every summer we are going to have this kind of vigorous protest. My hope is that it will be nonviolent. I would hope that we can avoid riots, because riots are self-defeating and socially destructive. I would hope that we can avoid riots, but that we will be as militant and as determined next summer and through the winter as we have been this summer. And I think the answer about how long it will take will depend on the federal government, on the city halls of our various cities, and on white America to a large extent. This is where we are at this point, and I think white America will determine how long it will be and which way we go in the future.
My brothers, we got a great topic at hand. Speaking of leadership, he was our fellow leader, still is, still bringing his voice, his voice is ringing today with that message, that is still relevant. Please open up the topic and talk to the people, man. What are y'all taking from that video first and foremost?
So, I mean, honestly speaking, man, it's been years, right, since his passing. A lot of times it is the comparison between Dr. King and Malcolm X. Which do you choose, right? And I think watching that video right now it resonates with the fact that whenever something like this happens, whenever something like what we're going through happens, the thought process is never, let's get into violence, let's get into rioting, let's get into something that's gonna hurt other people or hurt us. The thought is always, let's hope that we don't have to, but we will if we have to. Let's stay militant if we have to. And the sad part is that a lot of times we have to. So that's where we are now, where listening to that video, right, and watching that video kind of touches me in the sense where we all know we don't want this. We don't want to go through riots. We don't want to go through violence. We don't want to go through bloodshed. We don't want to go through the tears. But we also don't want to keep on losing hours and keep on repeating the cycle, the vicious cycle of losing lives and getting nothing more than the punishment of a desk job for a couple of years, and then dismiss the idea as it goes on, right? So at the end of the day, where we are right now, currently, is based off of the fact of where we need to be, right? And that equivalent mindset where all of us are actually equal, because it says it on the supposed documents of this country. We all are equal, right? And we all human by rights. So to see that video right now and to see where we are now, it's only because we had to get more than militant. And that's what I got off of the video.
Self-suffice.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they've done a great job with painting Martin Luther King and his legacy in one way. And I really appreciate when people bring it back to, first of all, the incredible multifaceted work it took to be him. And at such a young age that he was assassinated. You know? Okay. Pardon me, y'all. And
Right.
extra. Thank you, sir.
You can tell me the family people,
I'm
so
sorry,
we still take care of you know, what we need to take care of, even despite the fact we're doing podcasts and doing other things. We stay busy, but we also family oriented, y'all. So love is love at all times. To see self with his family and to see King ride with his family, and you know, Mons is out here. We doing it together, y'all. So go ahead, so.
Thank you, bro. That's exactly what I was leading into. Like, you know, Martin Luther King was actually a father, a son, definitely a brother, like all these aspects of him, and they just paint him in one way. But it takes a lot of effort and a lot of well-rounded. You can't just be one way in one situation. One thing with the protests right now, I used to be in a lot of protests as a young black man, and I would mostly see white women with tattoos and piercings, like a certain type of person would be out in these protests with me. And I would often wonder, why is it not more brothers out here? You know what I mean? But then I started to realize, like, they respond differently to us. You know what I'm saying? And we're already threatening, which is often, as back then, 20 years ago, is the same as right now, was the reason we were in protest, because we are seen as so fearful and scary, right? So I think that Dr. King, rest in peace, said there's no small jobs, only small people. There's no small jobs, only small people, right? So what this means is my daughter right now, she just finished in the midst of this quarantine, in the midst of her working through Zoom, right? Her job is a student, okay? But in the midst of that, she continued to graduate, and now she's a junior, right? And she likes this certain food, so we made it a point to make sure we get out her, get the food as a reward for her doing her thing, right? But also at home on the Instagram and social media, she sees one of the kids in his school posting some racist privilege stuff that usually in their circle is just like the status quo. And to her credit, she posted something about it. She was like, "Are you serious?" Like, it wasn't even like attacking him. She was just like, "Oh, is this a joke? Like, are you serious?" And then she engaged with him. You get what I'm saying? So her being a young teenager, but using her leadership position, right? There's no small jobs. there's small people, is what Dr. King said. This mayor of Minneapolis, right? Not a black man, but rose to the occasion of his title, not entitlement, but rising to the occasion of his title. And I know a lot of us will see a white man in this situation. We'll say, you know, why did this even happen? This was under your department. But he did what he could do in his position, correct? So the question when we say LOL, lack of leadership, we also have to ask, is there always a lack of leadership? And when there are people doing leadership in a body or in a form or in an age or in a place where we didn't expect it or visualize it, do we see that leadership and acknowledge it?
Right,
And I think,
1000%.
yeah.
No, that's a great point. Great point. I wanna bring it back to also something that LiteSkin touched on, but also what Heroes of Color touched on in this comment. You know, it's our live. He's listening right now, and he said what he got from the video is that our struggle hasn't changed. You know, and that's such a powerful comment, you know, from our listener to really voice, to really see it all the way through, to see from 1966 to now, we are still talking about the same thing in a sense, you know what I mean? Fighting for the same thing. You know, we hear so many other protesters that are leading, you know, and stepping up as leaders, speaking very positively, you know, and voicing our pain, our frustration, our anger, and our understanding of our world and society that we live in. So it's not that the question is how long, they said, how long is this going to continue, or how long is this always going to be this way? You know, because we see that it hasn't changed. I think the reason why it's more white people supporting the protest right now is it's like, yo, they see like, yo, it ain't nothing changed. I'm starting to see what the black people see. You don't understand yet. You don't, I would, from my opinion, I don't say you really understand or you don't feel what we feel, but you can start to see. And so the change, I see a little bit of change happening, but we still going through the same thing, man. Speak to me, brothers, about us really still going through this same thing. This we got George Floyd going through this right now, right? But Mike Brown, what about Mike Brown? You know what I'm saying? Remember Mike Brown? Remember Eric Gardner? You know what I'm saying? We had that. That was the whole summer. We were protesting, rioting throughout the whole entire country. It's almost like deja vu. But at the same time, year after year, even after that, the next year we did do the same thing. We protested about another cop killing. Cop killings just keep happening. Police killings just keep on happening. Police murders just keep on happening. You know what I mean? So
you know it's crazy.
That's where I'm real frustrated about.
Right, and we need to be right. So like Harold Keller said, shout out to you, David, for checking in, and like we saying right, and like the video said, it's crazy, right? So people, the great literature story of Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein made a monster, right? The monster became out of his control, sort of thing, right?
Okay.
America, the country, historically has made monsters of all of us. And it could simply be as something as simple as this right now, right? You had 4 officers, 3 of which laying on one man. That's 6 knees throughout the whole back, one of which was on the neck. Another officer overseeing and watching it happen and protecting those doing wrong. If the state would have just said, no, they're guilty, there would be no rioting. There would be none of this going on. We would have moved on and said, okay, now we got to make sure that they get charged and they do time and they get punished for their wrongdoing.
Yeah.
But the Frankenstein that you currently see now through these riots and this looting and whatever it is, and we could talk about that too, about the looting and how some people feel certain ways, right? But the question about the rioting and everything that you see now is the Frankenstein that you created.
Yes.
So
Oh my God.
because of your lack of leadership, because of this country's lack of leadership and taking control and what it needed to do, we are now in this turmoil. We are now in this cesspool of nonsense and trash based off of the fact that you couldn't be leaders. You couldn't hold accountable your own guard dogs, right? And hold them accountable to the same bylaws that they're supposed to be going through. The crazy thing is, it's not against all people. This is about corrupted. Not against all police, not against all people, not against all non-elected officials. This is about the corrupted of those. And this is why we're speaking to you. Lack of leadership turns into trash. Lack of leadership turns into the worst possible thing that could become of whatever it is you're doing. And we're going to get into more examples of leadership and lack of leadership, right? We're about to show this video real quick.
An amazing video that actually piggybacks off of what you are literally saying right now of, you know, the creation of this, you know what I mean? You know, not say creation, let's say the buildup, you know, the buildup. Let me speak correctly. Now, let's listen to this video. This is a very powerful video where she says something very similar to what our brother LiteSkin just said.
Those people who are in positions of power, I don't give a damn if they burn down Target. Because Target should be on the streets with us, calling for the justice that our people deserve. Where was AutoZone at the time when Philando Castile was shot in a car, which is what they actually represent? Where were they? So if you are not coming to the people's defense, then don't challenge us when young people and other people who are frustrated and instigated by the people you pay. You are paying instigators to be among our people out there throwing rocks, breaking windows, and burning down buildings.
I would like to make a point on that. Let's speak on that. You know, because she continues to go on and she's going to make a point that goes on to what you were talking about. But this specific point, as far as our young people are out there, like, let's put this in perspective. Our young people are out there and yes, we're peacefully protesting, but what aggravates a protest? What sparks it up to become riot? Isn't it the show up of the military, the officers that's showing up in military form, you know, stopping us from moving, telling us to go home? And I'm saying, I'm saying as the people that's speaking from the people that's out there, that's what they're feeling. You know, it's aggravating. That is, I mean, because they call them rioters, you know, it's rioting, they're looters, they're doing, you know what I mean, they're attacking the police and things of that nature. But look at how the military stance that they stand against the protest. You know, that they take against the protest. It's against the protest. You see, not with. You're not protecting the protest. You're not making sure no outsiders that's against us speaking our mind and voicing our opinion about what's going on is we're protected from that. No, you're stopping us. You're trying to eliminate us from doing this now. You're silencing us. You don't want us to move into this certain area. You don't want us to walk down that street. You don't want us to go into downtown. We could protest over there, but not over here.
Right.
You know, those type of aggravations, right? Can we? I mean, let's just speak to that because it really is like a lot of aggravations.
Nah, I got to chime in on that.
Definitely.
See,
could just go home.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, so yeah, I want to chime in on that because when you see a police presence, like automatically you could get triggered in certain ways, right?
It's a
It's
defense.
a defense. Similarly to like someone who's always been shown negative, angry ideas about black people, as soon as they see us, especially a male who is black, they automatically get triggered in a sense, right? That's what I was thinking. And that tends to be a conditioned response through evolution, which is a survival response. So I don't actually hold that against anybody, right? What I do hold against you, like my wife was saying, there's a book called Anti-Racism. What I do hold against you, if you know that the mind is conditioned this way and you don't take an active effort against that, right? So for me, if I see that we talking or a woman's walking by, whether she be white or black, I understand that men can be triggering to women, right? It can make them clutch their stuff tighter or what have you, right? I don't hold you against that from jump. Because I know which one you're talking about. I don't hold that against you from jump. So when I see a woman, I try to tip my head, acknowledge them, say, how you doing? Good afternoon. Give a smile. You get what I'm saying? Is my brothers, right? Who also have daughters, who also have wives, who also just even before we did, we knew it was our role as men to have leadership, correct? Now here's the issue. Target issued a statement, like she was saying, where is Target, right? Target issued a statement that my daughter just told me about because she's following this whole thing. And she said, Target said, we can buy another Target.
Next slide. Next slide.
You can't buy another black life, right? So now what the sister said in the protest is absolutely right. And what the company themselves said is absolutely right. They supporting the protest. But now when I've gotten in these conversations with police and inner city youth and facilitated deeper understanding, I found out, okay, I'm a little less triggered and scared when I see police because they recognize me from these conversations. You get me? At least in my area. You get what I'm saying? But they knew, a lot of the police told me themselves, you know what? When I see police and I'm outside of my uniform, I feel the same way. So I understand those concerns, right? Now, there was a group of, my wife showed me a clip today of these police officers in New Jersey out there in the protests marching with people. So again, when it comes to leadership, my question is this. As my brother Rashama was saying, when certain people show up and the precedent is a negative one, as a leader, do you just let that be what it is? Or do you issue a statement like Target did to say, we support the protest, we can buy a new store, we can't buy a new black light? Do you let it be what it is? Or do you do like the New Jersey police and march with the protesters and say, we support the protest. When you see this badge, when you see this uniform, you should feel more protected, not threatened for your life. Can you change? Can we change the prejudice? In other words, a leader doesn't complain about the prejudice against him. The leader says, I'm going to change that narrative because I understand what it is now and I'm alive to change that.
Those are great points. No, those are great points based on leadership, right?
You know what's crazy? So what she was also talking about, right, is a phenomenon a lot of people are not facing. The phenomenon is pretty much what they are paid provocateurs. Now, a paid provocateur is somebody who acts according or in accordance to what's going on around the people, right? Black or brown. And they are the ones that are breaking into buildings, throwing things, and starting the initial burning of certain things. And what happens is for the most part, when you see the media, because they're so trained in doing so, what you see is black and brown people burning down their own city, black and brown people burning down Targets, and black and brown people burning down all these businesses, right? But what you don't see is that a lot of those burned things, matter of fact, There's a video this morning that came out of a guy. I'm not gonna say a gentleman or a man. A guy who threatened a whole bunch of protesters with a bow and arrow, aimed a bow and arrow at the protesters, and was about to release. Right. Some of the protesters that were there in safety of themselves and in the defense of themselves, he pretty much was he wanted to hurt them, and in doing so, they started beating up on him. While they did that, after they interviewed him, he said, "Oh yeah, two black men punched me in my face." That was not the truth. A black person was in there. There was a lot of Asian folk, and this was separated or divide. Tell stories and look at the way it's only going to look at this. It is a certain people to help the narrative. And as you see the video now, at the end of it all, this is exactly what is trained to do. Make a certain people look a certain way. So those provocateurs actually they'll get their story back. We will never have George Floyd back. And that's the severity of what we're dealing with. You're talking burning, looting, rioting, hurt buildings. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about buildings that are being hurt and cities that are going under flames. But those cities in flames are based off of the fact that there's no accountability or taking responsibility for the wrongdoing. But you can never tell me that those hurt buildings that have no emotions, no life, it's a building, can ever bring back George Floyd to his children, to his family, to his loved ones, to his friends. It can never bring back the Eric Gardner, can never bring back a Khalif Broder who the system failed, right? It can never bring back a Trayvon Martin while the person who killed him wasn't even a cop and got away with it and is walking freely and got caught up multiple times for other infractions, given tickets, did some time, but never did time for the killing of a young baby. So when you're talking to me or anybody about looting, rioting, burning down cities and so on and so forth, a couple of factors to look into. One, is it really our people just doing it? Or are they the ones that even doing it? Or do you see them doing it, right? And two, in what way does that equate equivalent to the lives that are being taken?
Now that's another powerful, powerful point. And I want to segue right back into the video because Self-Suffice brought up a great point about leadership off of that too, and that's what you're speaking of too, right? And she goes next into a generational condition that has taken place. That we sound minds for a reason. Sound minds is another way of saying conscious minds, or you know what I mean? We looking at things in a sound way, overall way. We look at it in a deeper way. You know what I'm saying? It's sound. You know what I mean? Right. Sound minds, right? So that's why we created this platform. So now we can build a community of sound-minded individuals. You know what I mean? Conscious individuals. So you see, it takes that level of consciousness to reach a level of leadership. Okay? But what happens is we are actually at a level of social conditioning. So the social conditioning this is what she was talking about. And so young people are responding to that. They are enraged. And there's hold up, one second. Make sure I unmute that for you.
Easy way to stop it. Arrest the cops. Charge the cops. Charge all the cops. Not just some of them, not just here in Minneapolis. Charge them in every city across America where our people are being murdered. Charge them everywhere. That's the bottom line. Charge the cops. Do your job. Do what you say this country is supposed to be about, the land of the free for all. It has not been free for black people, and we are tired. Don't talk to us about looting. Y'all are the looters. America has looted black people. America looted the Native Americans when they first came here. So looting is what you do. We learned it from you. We learned violence from you.
We learned it from you. We learn violence from you. We just point blank period. We learned it from you. Let's talk about the social conditioning, you know, where if you haven't necessarily reached the level of consciousness of the leadership that Brother Self-Suffice was talking about, right now you in a condition of anger. You see that this has happened so long, you flipped out. You protesting. You at a level where, you know, this is your revolutionary level.
Right. And you know what? I gotta say that so when we made this topic, right, it was Wednesday. We came up, we met, we made the topic, we said we're going with lack of leadership, right? And since then, we have seen some people step up. We have seen my son. We have seen Sean King be the front line, my son be the front line, right? And I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed with some people who got money off of this being a platform, right? Got money off of supposed reforms and made deals, brokered deals, and just ain't out there, or just haven't said a word yet. Now, granted, everybody takes in things on a whole different level differently. I can't sit there and try to judge nobody on how they are not doing things. Now, the crazy thing is, here's a joke for you, right? In the midst of all this, in the midst of deaths based off of a pandemic that has taken thousands of lives, that has taken a back seat to what we're currently going through. So yeah, I get it. People may be stressed out off of other things outside of the riots and the looting and the stepping up, right? But I gotta tell you, leaders, suppose if y'all ain't saying nothing, you staying silent. As Dr. King says, silence is betrayal. So at the end of the day, when you don't speak, you're actually taking a side. When you don't say something, you're actually taking a side. I don't care if what you have to say is to make others feel comfortable with you, right? And you need to speak based off of whatever strings are attached to you. But at the end of the day, when you don't say nothing, your silence says so much within itself.
Your silence is a weapon.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said your silence is a weapon.
You know, my wife said something to my son earlier today, y'all, and she was like, look, when you have a responsibility and you agree to it and you don't do that, now whatever situation you agreed to is in a situation of liability now. So now you're either asking people to have that situation in a lower standard, unsafe standard, or you're asking them to take over what you agreed to do. Right? Now, some people think they don't understand the concept of context. And shout out to Ace King, too. He harkened it back to the first episode. And shout out to Hip Heredia, too. Brilliant artists, heroes of color. You know what I'm saying?
That's see the comments. Hip Radio is yeah. Hip Radio is Carlos Radio. But what he said was he seen. And the truth of the matter is, he's seen this played out way too many times. And what he's saying is that we need to do something different, right? So the difference that we need to do is create our own. I keep saying it. When we boycotted the NFL, I thought we was en route of creating a new football league. I thought we was en route of creating a different type of league so that we don't have to constantly beg. But we're begging. And now that we're fighting back, and now that we're saying, now we're tired of this, We're tired of seeing the broad daylight killings. We're tired of seeing the broad daylight beatings and abuse that has been going on. Because truth of the matter is, when you look at this, it's really no different than slavery itself, right? At all. Plantations have turned into concrete. It's the only difference. Overseers riding cars, the only difference. But I'm not, again, and I say this and I preface this, right? Not every cop is wicked. Not every cop is corrupted. As a matter of fact, true leadership was shown by certain cops who actually made videos saying, I'm not with that. I don't know why that man got killed, and I honestly do not stand for those that did that killing and that murder, that outright murder. And what happened was they got fired. So when you speak up, right, that shows true leadership. And I say that in all facets. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter the uniforms you wear. It doesn't matter the names, the color of your skin. Because truth of the matter is, I can tell you some people of color who are sitting there and saying, yo, this is stupid. That's just one man's life. That we should never gone this far. And we're doing disrespectful things to the authorities and so on and so forth, and fight for that side of the fence. And I sit there baffled because truth of the matter is, I mean, in all reality, in all due respect, your words are more hurtful than you think they are. And they are more dangerous, right, than you could ever imagine, because you're speaking about allowing your own flesh and blood, same color of yours, same reflection of yours, get killed right in front of you, and you have no problem.
See, that's what I want to chime in on that, because last night after my slam event, there was a couple other events that people was wanting a voice, like to voice this in poetry, you know what I'm saying? So I'm on an event, but I'm also seeing other poets, right? I'm performing, but I'm checking out these other poets. And this 16-year-old white girl, her name is Boiled Barbie, by the way, follow her, shout out her, whatever, right? So she gets on her, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Just off my prejudice, I didn't know what was gonna happen, if it was gonna go off topic, because a lot of us black folk was voicing our grievances, right? So the next thing you seen was Barbie said she was responding to a white woman, and her whole poem was about this, because the white woman said, it's not your fight. This 16-year-old white girl did this whole poem about how it's all of our fight. First of all, how could you see these injustices happen to anyone of any color and feel like you're not affected if it's your society and your people? And you need to learn something. So like one of the things you pointed out, right? You got the dude with the bow and arrow, right? You got these people that are making these racist comments. You got these people that are willing to continue and look for excuses on violence. But also you got these agent provocateurs and paid provocateurs, right? People whose job it is to try to say that the protesters are violent or black people are violent and give a justification for police action, for military action, right? So here comes the question. If you're a black person or a person of color who's gonna fall into that narrative and create that, you're not on the side of leadership and justice. If you're a police officer who's gonna fall into that and create that, or take money for that, or allow that, you're not on the side of justice. And I think we need to take a big step back to do what my brother's saying, like, to take a step back as police, as MCs, as parents, as whoever we are, you know what I mean? To step back and say, okay, when I see the actions of this person, is this someone who's on the side of justice and righteousness? Or is this a person who's one of these people that's trying to foment harming innocent people? Because if you notice that about a person, whether or not they're a police officer, they're on one of those two sides. If you notice that person, whether they're a teacher or a rapper, they're on one of those two sides. When things is getting real, you're either opposing it, against it, preventing it from happening, or you're allowing it, or fomenting it, or actively creating it. But even if you're not actively creating it, if you're not on the side that's against it, and if you're allowing it and actually complaining about people who are doing something about it, you're on the other side. That's what I try to teach to my children as well. And I noticed, like, with my brothers, when we check our own brothers, when we check people that's in our family and in our community, that's what real leaders do. You notice nobody likes to hear these things. You get what I'm saying? We don't like to hear it. It stings a little, but you gotta say it, because ultimately, no, your skin color, your job, your position does not make you safe. Your actions and you standing up and speaking out when things is wrong is what lets us know, are you on the side against it, or are you allowing it?
So are you saying that does not happen enough in our community in like all different facets, from like the police community to, I'm talking about the white community, to, you know, different interactions that you have amongst each other? That's not happening enough. That's what he's saying.
So I'm gonna try.
Absolutely. I don't want to, because I talk so long. I want to give y'all a point, but you know that's what I'm saying, brother. You right on the dot.
And I'm gonna chime in on that, right? This is how we segue into something else. Please be advised, if it's offensive, that's because of yourself, not because of me, and not because of what I'm about to say, right? This does not stop at just our people looting and rioting and stepping up and protesting. And we're not just, so yeah, we started because this is what's currently current right now. As Self was talking about, I'm also talking to artists. I'm also talking to hip hop MCs or rappers. Some of y'all just not MCs. We can get into that at a later date. I'm talking to social service counselors, administration, teachers, principals, right? I'm talking to people that are expected to do right by those that they're servicing. And I'm gonna tell you straight off the bat, I have personally worked 25 years of doing youth work, and I have come across some clowns that have served certain titles based off of however they got there, but are not really leaders. A true leader is born. Titles are given out on the daily. A true leader knows when they need to step up, and when something is wrong, they speak up and speak out, right? And it doesn't necessarily, leaders are not based off of age. I just had a current situation this week where an old student of mine exposed one of her old teachers, which was a former colleague of mine, because the colleague was trying to put out a narrative that was funny. But now that the student is older, I need y'all to understand, true leaders know what true leaders are. They know it within themselves, right? So when you feel like, nah, those young people, when I used to be able to mold minds and do certain things to them without them seeing, that true leader will eventually get older and eventually be the reason you get exposed, right? And here's my thing. There was that situation, and shout out to that student, man. I love the fact that she spoke out, was like, nah, this is what this is. And you ain't by any means, based off of privilege, are gonna be able to say what you wanna say and just fade away. But what they did was, they took down posts, they didn't respond, blocked people, and so on and so forth. And I'm not only exclusive to that situation, right? I've been through other situations where principals and others, for the most part, other supposed leaders there and watch people do harm, not only the environment, but the services to the youth that they were supposed to provide. And they got to leave with it. Step back and let it out. And those that actually spoke up that, wait a minute, we need to do something. Or not for whatever reason, let it happen, and the kids are the ones that paid for it, because they lost out on staff members that truly did what they were supposed to do, or got out, the staff members that spoke up got outcasted or ousted, right? Just based off of the fact that they were speaking up for righteousness. That is true leadership. When you're dealing with the youth, as the three of us have, and the three of us do, you learn that the mind is so easily molded. And what you do with those minds what you teach those young brains, right, is one of the most pertinent things that you could do for the rest of their lives. So you're either, and get it corrected. I don't care what your title is. If you're staying silent, you're not a leader. I don't care who you are or what you're scared of. You're not a leader if you're not speaking up. And you need to question yourself and really ask yourself, am I creating and, in a sense, in new ways to be leaders, or am I creating followers? Because only followers stay shut and let things just happen, just so that they could get a paycheck, or just so that they could be accepted by others. Stop trying to be accepted, Joe. Stop sitting there clowning yourselves and following the followers who follow nothing, just based off of the fact that you got no heart, no backbone, and no type of own thought, no sound-mindedness to stick up for those that you're supposed to be sticking up for. So it does not stop at protesters and what's going on. We're talking on a larger scale. Be a leader, y'all. Stop with the constant following. Stop with just sitting there and kissing other people's asses just to be respected and neglecting your true reason as to why you even doing what you're doing, y'all. And I salute those that don't. I salute the true leaders that are really out there. I salute y'all to the heart, to the death.
SoundMinds to that. SoundMinds all the way around to that. Like, I think one thing you realize through various degrees of leadership, age, experience, you get to a point where you realize you are a leader. And that's the funny joke. You know, this is called LOL, lack of leadership. So it's a kind of ironic joke in this. What you realize due to experience, mentorship, age, whatever it is that you are a leader. So who are we talking about? Yes, the police, yes, the mayors, yes, the teachers, yes, the administrators, the rappers, everyone. The question is, do you become conscious and say, what am I leading people to do? Unfortunately, you don't have a choice if you're a leader or not. Everyone is a leader. If you're non-vocal, you're leading by your actions, by your body movements, by the reputation you have or that you allow to be around you. But the thing that you do get to change is how you lead and how you adapt to your leadership. And one funny thing that I've learned as a leader,
that actually is a great point.
Right, because
this
like
video is coming into.
See, because if you mess up and you find out that you messed up and show that you messed up, admit it, that means you're powerful. Because if you could mess it up, you realize you have an avenue to the power to fix it. But if you're constantly denying anything that you did that could have been a little bit better, you're also denying your own power and your own ability to improve.
This video literally segues into what you brothers, both of you brothers, are just speaking about, you know, and it's the solution that we are trying to teach our youth. You know, we're seeing a continuous cycle go on. We've just discussed it, you know, in multiple different perceptions. Now, this is a little conversation. I would say it's a loud conversation on how we talk to each other when we are very passionate and you know, and we talking through that emotion. This is how I talk when I turn up. But at the same time, listen to what they saying. It really segues into a great solution. Check this out.
Hey, I understand. Well, we worried about this. I understand. But we won't stand up for them. I understand. They get killed on the daily basis. Talk to me. I understand. How old are you? I'm tired of this. How old are you? I'm 45 years old. 45 and I'm 31. And I'm tired of seeing this. And you the older generation than me, and I am too. And we've been standing around as the older ones, taking all this bullshit. Always hoping for a kumbaya fucking y'all. Come here. Always standing around for a kumbaya. Ain't nobody coming to protect us. Let me tell you, we gotta start our own fucking life. I understand. But let me tell you something right here. This 16. He's 16. Oh my they gonna kill him next week. He's 16. What we gonna do? You tell me. What we gonna do? This ain't the way. Cause they ready to let loose. If the United States president say, if you loot, we shoot. You think doing this going on? I know it. It's always going on. But it's time to stand up. So at this point, I'm ready to die. But what's going on?
Let me tell you something.
That's the problem that we got.
What you see right now is gonna happen 10 years from now. And at 26, you're gonna be doing the same thing I'm doing. You understand that? 10 years. You're gonna be right here too.
But he also got to
So what I need y'all to do right now at 16 is come up with a better way. Cause how we doing it, it ain't working. He angry at 46. I'm angry at 31. You angry at 16.
He's angry at 45. He's angry at 31. He's angry at 16. Do you hear the passion coming from our brothers out there?
And you know what's crazy?
Generational pain, trauma that he's speaking through. But the main point, and this is what we are touching on right now, is that they got to come up with a better way. We've seen this cycle, and just like in our comments, we've seen this go on over and over again. They got to come. Yeah, I mean, our generation, the generation under us, they're going to come up with a better way. They going to come up with right now, it's the revolution stage that they're going through, but they're going to come up with a better way. And they got to come up with a better way. Speak on that, family.
And I think we gotta have the faith that we need, right? Faith of the mustard seed, they say, right? We gotta have faith for that, right? But we also gotta commit the action. And we also gotta be the ones. So when you see, like right here, this shirt says hip hop speaks. This shirt says that I am not allowed. I don't allow myself, right, to speak on lane or to speak on anything destructive of my people, because hip hop speaks. My culture taught me better than that. My mind, my penmanship, the way I use my sword will not allow me to ever write anything corny enough for me just to be accepted. Now, granted, at the end of it all of us do art the way we do art. But what separates the true artists and those who really speak to ours are those that care about speaking to ours. As long as you seen in that video, perfect way to describe when one person is talking about how angry they are and they talking about, I'm ready to die for this. 45 years old, 31-year-old said, yeah, I get it. I'm angry too. But this 16-year-old, this baby needs us to do better. Needs us to teach better, be better. Because as long as you keep on being somebody else's puppet, as long as you keep on being entertainment, right? And we spoke about this before, right? We spoke about the blackface and the samples and the dancing just to entertain. As long as we continue to be that, we can never at all teach our babies the right, proper way. And we cannot afford, we don't have the luxury of time. Everybody before us thought we had time, right? And everybody before us, one way or another, did what they had to do for us to get where we are. This is not enough. The crumbs we've been given is not enough. We need more. We need to be able to sit at the same seat at the tables and not sit there and have to worry about constantly being referred to as minorities. Something as simple as that. Constantly be referred to supremacy. Who's supremacy? Who's supreme? If you're not supreme, I don't honor that. So when you're talking about, well, you know, these minorities are up against white supremacy, I don't respect your supremacy. There's no supreme in it. And there's no minor in me. There's no minor in us. It doesn't matter if it's numbers. It doesn't matter if it's power. It doesn't matter if you think back historically on what people went through. At the end of the day, it's people of color who have had to endure so much, right? And shout out to, honestly, give it, you know, call a spade a spade. The Jewish population had to go through Holocaust and created their own to create their own network and keep themselves tight. We need to learn from that. We need to learn how to come together in unison. And I keep saying the word unison, man. It's such a powerful word. Once we learn that right there, then we don't have to worry about nothing else. So I thank you for playing that video, Rob, because it says so much about what we need to do, whether it be through a podcast,
and it shows unison as well, right? Because the brother that was saying that was right in between. The brother was 31, in between the 45, 46-year-old and a 16-year-old. So he's right in between. You know what I'm saying? He's standing there saying, like, one, anger is a sign. It's like a green light, a yellow light, a red light is a sign, right? You see a sign and you react if you're irresponsible, which means you're easily manipulatable. You have low self-value. You're not treasuring yourself. You can't bring value to other people. And you're also reacting out of fear. You're so caught up in what could go wrong and what has gone wrong. You can't project the image of the future and bring that about, right? So it's a sign. When you see a sign, if you're not going to react, what do? You respond. You work on your responsibility. Before you get a driver's license, you already know there's going to be a green light, a red light, a yellow light, what to do accordingly, along with a whole bunch of other rules, right? That you expect to know before you even get in the car, much less before you even see those actual things in real life. You're supposed to know before you even permitted to be behind the driver's wheel. Right. So this brother said, you know what? Anger is useful in that way. I'm angry too. Are we going to stay angry? What is the next sign that we take after this? What do we look for next? What do we create next? But he didn't just say, you're angry, so I'm gonna shun you. Unity. He didn't say, you're angry, you're bad. He didn't say, you're angry, I'm not going to raise my voice. You get me? He raised his voice. He understood that his ticket to being in that conversation in the midst of pain was a degree of raising his voice. And I thought it was beautiful. I mentioned this on a previous podcast.
He didn't say, you're angry, let's go kill everybody and show that, and let's go loot everything and show that.
Not at all.
He didn't say that. That's not the type of anger we are acting out of.
And this goes back to something I said about Shannon Lee when she was talking about her father on the previous podcast. Remember, I told you there was a friend how Bruce, he might go spar in the gym. He might go hit a pillow, let out a whoa. You know what I'm saying? He would express that anger in a creative way, and the women felt safe around him. They understood this is expressing anger creatively and moving on and doing productive things. So I wanted to just complicate it. I didn't want to oversimplify it, because one, he saw that anger was not the solution, but two, he saw that the moment of anger was necessary and helpful. How do we use this moment of anger without getting caught up in a loop of anger? He didn't make the 46-year-old or the 16-year-old feel guilty about the anger. He said, okay, guess what? We got to go somewhere else with this anger, or else we're still going to be here 15 years from now angry about the same thing. Can we at least be angry about something else? And I do want to say before I go too long on this, I've never seen something like a Target say, yo, we can buy a new building. We support the protesters. We can't just replace a black life. I've never seen a whole precinct of police like in New Jersey marching and saying, yes, we are police. We support police. We protect police. But our job as police is to support and protect the people. And we do not support and protect police who are making us look like we are other than who we're supposed to be.
Right.
I've never seen just a time in history where so many people who are in an entitled position, in a privileged position, realizing their entitlement and taking that upon themselves, like this mayor of Minneapolis. I mean, when my wife and I were looking at this video, our first response was shock. And that's why we say LOL with a question mark, because it's like the standard has been so low for so long. We need to not only project what is in our future, y'all, and what we're going to change and what the little baby steps, because they're not dramatic. That's the other thing. Everybody needs these dramatic changes in this panacea, everything to be all right. And if it doesn't happen, That's not what leaders do. Leaders is committed to the little itty bitty day by day steps, and you might die in the midst of it, but you push the needle a little bit. We got to stop complaining when we don't get everything we want overnight. You get what I'm saying? And I have not seen a point in history where you see these people who do not have to speak up, right? Because our lives are at stake. We got to speak up. But I've never seen so many who are entitled and privileged making me say, I would like that person to stay the mayor. I would like that person to keep owning Targets. I would support that business. Those people are for humanity, including black people, including women, right? So if you have a vision of the future, then you can create. If you're stuck in the past and the present, you're at a good point to create from, but you can't really create unless you also include a vision of the future. And if you don't appreciate, this is my point here, if you don't appreciate the little things that are moving towards a vision of the future, then you dismiss the positive things that are happening. You don't see leadership in action, and you actually stop a change from being made. I want to salute everybody. I've never seen some of the beautiful things I've seen at this time. What does that make me? Delusional? Naive? No. Because there's way more brothers that got killed this week than George Floyd. In the midst of this, there's people who was out there in the protest getting killed, getting tased, getting beat up. Let's be clear about that. But what I'm saying is, to change that and to continue changing that, don't be egotistical. Look at those models of people who are making it better and salute them and continue to grow that tide. Because if you dismiss it, it's just like stepping on the neck of all the progress. You're not letting progress breathe.
1,000.
Man,
I'm charged up, bro.
No, that SoundMinds
I'm
on that
charged
one.
up.
I mean, that brings it to a great, full, positive perspective. Shout out to Self for bringing that positive perspective. You actually, dropped it on that positive perspective this whole entire hour. You know what I mean? So I definitely want to salute you for that, because there's a lot of anger in the atmosphere. There's a lot of tension in the atmosphere right now. You know what I mean? And you were able to bring a positive, perspective to it, or positive sound to it, even though you spoke your hard truth. You know what I mean? And the hard truth needs to be spoken. You know what I mean? And I think the hard truth needs to, as far as for a real, let's say, solution that individual leaders need to take day by day to say something that we can do every single day, that needs to be speaking that hard truth. If you see something going on and you need to speak up about it, if you figure out that you can't speak and represent your rights that how you can, then you need to speak up about that. You see, things of that nature, things that's going on in your life that you could bring change to. All right? Like, it's those little things of speaking up now. Silence is a weapon because you can't be silent. They use the silence against us when we don't speak.
Right.
You know what I mean?
See, silence is a weapon of privilege. And that's again this point about leadership, right? If something's wrong and you're standing there, it's different than if something's right and you're standing there, which kind of leads to what Rashaman, I feel you saying, like, if something's wrong and you're standing there or you're silent about it or inactive about it, then maybe it's not wrong for you. That's what the young white girl, Boiler Barbie, was saying. She was saying this elder white woman was telling her, it's not your fight. Well, she was saying it's my fight. So what you telling me is you do see a problem, but you're not a leader in the situation because it's not your problem. Okay, so now right.
Yeah, go ahead, son.
Now you said it, take it from there. You got it.
Now I was gonna say part of the problem is just that, right? We the death of George Floyd should touch all of us. Black, white, midget, tall, fat, skinny. It is a human life that was taken in the eyes of everybody who begged to not take that life. begged and said, please do not do that, sir. Please get off him. Please. And again, I don't want this to come off as if I am attacking police. I don't want this to come off as if I'm attacking anybody, even white people for that matter, Caucasian people. I'm attacking the corrupted. I'm attacking those that don't care. And part of the problem is, like Self was talking about, a lot of those little changes, that the little building blocks that take place are as simple as the acknowledgement of what is it that you hate? What do you have the issue with? Now, if it's skin color, right? Understand the beauty of us being different. If it's culture, either understand the culture or don't. Doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt you just to mind your business. But when you, as a people, have been at certain echelons or certain levels for the existence of mankind, right? And people have not, then what is your issue? At the end of the day, understand that you are hating off of something as simple as differences. And truth of the matter is, the sad part is, it's not even hate, it's fear. And that's what it boils down to. It's fear.
I would like to piggyback on that, and you know, hey, we talked about the small change, you know, of what leaders actually take, right? And because we know it takes steps, and we know we in the background, we doing what we have to do. You know what I mean? We teaching the younger generation. We focus on, you know, the knowledge that represents, you know, the change that goes into actions of change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we want to get a little bit of hasty and say and say what's up with a real change, you know, there's countries that have police, like police force with no guns, right? This whole entire thing is wrapped around police killing blacks, and if this is a race thing and police is killing blacks, well, what do our police force that are to protect and serve, that still can protect and serve by doing what they are trained to do, by de-escalating situations, serving tickets and finding people with things that they do wrong in the society that is built in the community, right? Listen, do you need weapons to do that? No. What type of mentality, mind frame do it implement to a police officer with the mentality to kill do when he got that weapon on his hand? Do we need to show another video of the officers that are on the front line right now holding their guns, looking at the protesters dead in their eyes, shaking their head ready, and then later on bust off their rubber bullets like, oh, just like, oh, feeling the adrenaline rushing through them? Do we need to show that video? No. I think you get the picture. Understand that if it's gonna be some type of real change,
if you don't understand what Rashomon is talking about,
out of this cop killing situation, right? Let's
I
want to
give
the
homework.
Guns. Let me see how we come together. How can we come together and make a vote that takes away the guns from the police officers and still keep them in their positions?
For those of y'all who are not in the context, I want to challenge y'all to Google the amount of incarceration in every country in the world compared to America. And I want to challenge y'all to Google the armament of police and other civilized nations. I keep hearing my international friends say, I'm so sad for the way that Black people are treated in America. Now, for us, it's normalized, and I think this is status quo. I'm like, what do y'all talk about in America? Like, this is what police do. See, Heroes of Color just said, my brother just said, in England, they don't have them. They have billy clubs, okay? I see numerous footage of dudes squaring up with police in Europe. You see what I'm saying? I've even seen rubber bullets to the knee. I've seen rubber bullets to the leg, not to the vital organ.
Here's a question.
Wait, hold on. I just want to say this, brother, because like what you were saying, people don't realize how it's already happening in other places. Like if you stuck in this American mind state, That's part of the slavery. You're conditioned to it. Like if you're born into slavery, you think getting whipped is normalized, right? It takes you to see other people and other conversations to even realize, oh, this is abnormal. If you look at the worldwide statistics of incarceration and police violence against the population, you'll realize we are abnormal. So I wanted you to go on just with that footnote that what he's saying is actually being practiced. And these other mostly white people nations are looking at the white people police authorities of America and administrative bodies of policing as barbarians.
Yep.
You
right
said it's
now
already being practiced, right? Which only shows that what I'm saying, look, it sounds as a theory because it's not here, right? But it shows that it can be done. It's already being done, and it's already successful in many ways, right? Because they don't have the killing rates that they have, that we have, right? So I want to ask this question though. Is the problem that we have in America that we are talking about all over the news right now, that we are protesting and doing everything that we're so angry about, is the problem that citizens with gun licenses are killing other citizens because of racism? No, it's police killing black people, unarmed black people most of the time. You know what I mean? On a killer be killed, I'm on a hunt mentality. It's been that same cycle. So if we want a real change, which I have not heard on no platforms, this is the first platform you have heard it on. We turning up. What does it, if we want real change, then let's all come together, show us a platform. Let's show how we going to get to the president. Let's see how we can make a change to eliminate the guns out of police officers. Because every time there's the shooting, a mass shooting, they voting to take away assault rifles. But what we are out here by the thousands, hundreds of thousands in every city for what? To do what? To accomplish what? Are we going to be able to take away the guns from the police officers that keep killing us, that's going to keep killing us after today?
But you know what's crazy though, right? Like the saddest part of this whole, it wasn't a gun. You know what I mean? So you're right. You're right. You're 1000% right. We need to change.
I'm just talking about a radical change, right? Just speaking
Yeah,
from
yeah,
a
yeah,
radical
yeah,
change
yeah,
standpoint.
yeah. And I also feel to go with that.
Because think about it, if that officer did not have a gun, still the mentality, he wouldn't be like, let me put my knee on his neck. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? He ain't gonna have that type of, you know what I mean, heart to do that. Because he's
you know,
different.
Right. And I think that's where, so also when you speak radical change, I also feel like what needs to be passed is punishments need to be caught up accordingly. If you are a police officer, it doesn't change the fact you weren't born any different from any human being. So you have your biases, you have your hatred, you have your thoughts of whatever your thoughts are based off of however you were brought up and birthed and trained and so on and so forth. But you're human just as the person that you're killing. So I think that what needs to happen is there needs to be a psych evaluation for those, and you know, in light of the fact that it's a hard job within itself, you're going out there on a daily basis and you're going through what you're going through. There needs to be a psych evaluation. I think
they said that with Mike Brown, brother.
Right.
They said that back then.
They need to start putting that in play though, because they don't, you know, because truth is every police officer that's out there, you're under stress, you're under whatever you are. There needs to be a checks and balances of the fact that those that are going out are not going out to purposely hurt, because a lot of cops are, all due respect, but a lot of teachers too. A lot of cops are suckers who were born when they were young, got slapped up, got a badge, and then they take out the angles on others. I'm just being honest. And it's not just cops, but I'm just saying, like, so what I'm saying is there needs to be an evaluation and held true, because that the police, I'm not calling police officer, the cop who killed George Floyd, right? The final blow with the knee to the neck.
Right.
multiple infractions, all thrown under the rug. So it's just kind of like we need to start evaluating who it is that's policing the street.
And my wife just commented, and he was nominated as like Police of the Year or something. So not only had he been doing this, like it was being incentivized. Thank you, baby.
Exactly. And then on top of that too, police need to police their neighborhoods.
That's what I was gonna say. I did hear that also. You know, earlier live. You know, I heard someone speak about how it needs. If the change that they want to see is police that they live in the neighborhood that they work in. Yep. I agree with that 100% too. Alongside with my other radical idea.
No, we need that. We need the change of guns. Honestly speaking, I think that once we change that, we'll have less deaths, right? But then we also got to go into the source of the source of changing the mentalities that go along with those who are carrying guns or billy clubs and so on and so forth. But you're right. We need to get rid of guns, man. Straight up. If you really have any issues, there are places in the world. I think Canada is the lowest for any type of deaths. I don't even know these dudes rock with guns like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like they mountain and they out there chilling, but there's no. And it's not to say that there's not violent people in Canada. It's just to say that, right? I don't want to make it sound like it's 15 minutes away, but 15 minutes away, right above us, they're not doing what they're doing over here in the city, man, and you know, and or in the state, man, or in the states. So I say that's a thing, yeah.
I wanted to. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you.
No, don't worry about it.
You know,
no problems at all.
But with all being all, you know, I do want to wrap it up tonight because we are going into a minute 20. You know what I mean? But this comment right here is a great way to go into wrapping it up. You know, our brother said, you know, love this platform. You are all contributing to the improvement of our future just by having these conversations and asking these questions.
Thank you.
I want you guys to give your final comments to that and talk to them.
Well, so again, the amounts of guns and the permits and the NRA and the police, the way we do it, at least in America, which again, please do research, y'all, because if you've been growing up and normalized in America, you will be very surprised to know that we're actually the exception to the rule of how policing is done in societies that value human life and don't see half of their population as subhuman, which, let's get real, the beginning of this idea of using guns, hunting for people the way you do for animals, came from the idea that it was okay to treat certain humans as animals. Please do your research on how people in criminalization is treated in other countries as opposed to one based in slavery. But having said that, there is no simple solution to this. We are all leaders. If you have a gun, the more important question is, what power do you have? If you don't understand the power that you have behind the wheel of a car, you don't get a car. If I have anything to say, if you don't understand the power behind a finger, this little thing that people glorify being able to do this, anybody could do this. You know, what's sad is a lot of kids get killed every year. There's an alarming amount of American kids that get killed just because they go and find a gun that's unprotected, right? So it's easy to pull a gun. What's hard to do is to empower yourself to know how to use a gun, when to use a gun, and so forth. And even if you get rid of all the guns, a stick, a knife, a fist, a word, a job, any type of power, recognize that you are a leader regardless of your position. Like Dr. King said, it's no small jobs, it's just small people. I'll say the same thing. It's no small tools of destruction or creation. It's just small-minded people who don't realize what they could do with that pen, what they could do with that keyboard. Look at Anonymous right now. They just hacked into a police department. Believe me, that's going to do a lot more damage than a bullet could do.
Hackers have the most power in the world.
I want to put this to close, but it's so much coming up. You know we're going to be here for you next week. But to what Light was saying about even like the training and the psych evaluations, There's a sister just now on the Canada side of the border, and she just got allegedly pushed off the balcony by a group of police officers. They said they called for help with her. She was like, she had some kind of mental issues. So she has to go back into the apartment and use the bathroom. The 5 officers went in with her. They said, okay, her brother went to go in. They restrained him. First of all, why would you restrain her brother from going back in as she's going in to use the bathroom and 5 strangers are going into the apartment? And then 2 minutes later, they hear her screaming, "Mom, mom, help me, help me." And then she's off the balcony, right? So one, I do believe officers, police, rappers, everybody needs to have an understanding of psychology and their own mental state and how they deal with stress. But 2, there's an alarming number of these people, and it's being justified by saying, oh, well, this person was in his right mental state. Well, that's what we're there for as teachers or as police, as mentors, as leaders. We're there for people who are not in their right mental state, because we don't need you to be perfect or in a healthy mind state to be there and help you get to the next step out of a dangerous situation, right? So if you are a police officer or an authority and you go and your excuse for someone dying is that they wasn't in their right mental state, or you're actually prone to harm people or justify harming people because they're not in the right mental state, then maybe we need to check our own mental state and have more stringent details for these people that hold guns, for these people that are in charge of mentoring people. Just to Light's point, like the way you treat other people kind of reflects back on the treatment that you didn't get for yourself. And that's your responsibility if you're gonna be a leader.
And I'm gonna keep it short, right? Heroes of Color, David Heredia put up a quote by James Baldwin. Our young, and I'm gonna kind of, I guess for the most part, give like a synopsis. Our young, right? Children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them. I got bad eyesight, so that's why I can. So the synopsis to that, right? The brief synopsis is what we say as elders, and elders could be 21 years old, elders could be 81, right? What we say most times will probably not be heard, but if they're imitating you and what you do, keep that in mind, right? Thank you, Heralds of Color, for putting that up. I will also go on the quote of Dr. King. All no small jobs, just small people. Now I'm challenging all of y'all, man. Stop being small-minded people. Stop being small. This is my challenge to the world right now. Whoever watches this, if you're watching this, I don't care, indifferent. I don't care if you agree with me. I don't care if you disagree with me. Stop being small. Understand that those that follow in your footsteps and those that are trying to learn from you are watching you with a keen eye so that they see how to maneuver in the next chapters of life. So if you teaching them wrong, and if you teaching them to be silent, and if you teaching them that corrupt is the best way for them to maneuver through life, you are not in any way creating leaders. You're creating followers. And if you are a follower, step to the side. We don't need small people. We don't need followers having titles and not knowing how to be leaders and try to lead when you don't even know how to follow your own shadow. So I say that to say, be bigger than what you are, or work on yourself. You know what I mean? Sometimes we got to self-reflect and say, damn, what am I doing? What am I not doing enough of? When you're working with the youth, when you're working with the young, when you're out there and you policing the cities, be bigger than being a small person. And only then can we better ourselves for the next plateau and the next plateau over, so that our next generations don't have to see what we're seeing. It's draining us. And I'll say it very calmly, but very, very straightforward. We're tired. Straight. We're tired. Tired of the nonsense. We're tired of the little people. We're tired of the small-minded people. Step your games up, y'all. With all that being said, I am LiteSkin, real LiteSkin, 123 on IG, RealLiteSkin, 123 on IG. More things coming up for the podcast. We asking you guys to send us music, send us stuff. I was even going to spit something today that I just wrote off of this, but we're going to hold off on that. I thank all of y'all.
I was feeling the same thing. But what song, if people wanted to hear one song from you today, what song would you say that you have out there that people could hear?
Take a Stand. Go listen to that Take a Stand.
I was hoping you say that.
Go listen to that Take a Stand.
I was hoping you say that.
Yeah. I need y'all to go to any major streaming sites. I'm not asking you to download nothing. If you have a streaming site already on your phone, utilize that platform. Go listen to Take a Stand. Tell your friends to listen to Take a Stand. It's now, y'all. And I'm not promoting in any way am I promoting violence. I'm saying it's now. We got to take a stand, y'all. We done said this so many times over, right? All people, stay strong. I respect each and every one of y'all that's out there on the front line right now doing what you're doing for the justified reasons that you're doing it for. I respect, love y'all. Thank you. I salute you. We are where we are now because others like you did what y'all doing. Just be smart. Do not burn down your own city. Do not burn down your own household. The truth of the matter is, me burning my house, my physical house, this leaves me without a bed to sleep on and my family a place to lay our heads. So I say that to say, take care of your cities. Take care of your streets. Take care of your businesses. Do not do harm to yours. And if somebody else is doing it to our streets and our places, it's time to expose them and back up, hold them there. Let the cops take care of them, right? That's what they're supposed to be doing. Let them do that. So thank y'all very much for listening, y'all. Please share the word, y'all.
We appreciate y'all. And the most dramatic stories that get covered is not what it's all about. It's the ones who's doing the little consistent tiny steps every day when nobody got the camera on them. Our heart goes out to you. Y'all are the core of what's making a change, regardless if people could see it or not. Y'all are the difference. Rashaman, let us know a word, and also what song that you have out there that you could recommend if people wanted to hear something from you today.
Man, one thing that I want to say is that we picked up, picking up off of what Light was just saying, man. Don't be small mind. I think you need to be sound mind. Don't be small mind. Be sound minds.
Right.
I love that.
You know what I mean? And we also brought up a lot of times throughout this hour about silence as a weapon and how being silent can be used against you. And I want you to make sure you type in on any of your streaming platforms PUP. That's capital P, capital U, capital P. Silence is a weapon. Silence is a weapon. I have a song that literally talks about exactly what we going on and how we cannot be silent no more and we must take a stand.
Right. And
so
remember,
the song is called Silence is a Weapon?
Silence is a weapon. P-U-P, capital U, capital P, capital U, capital P.
And remember, support, subscribe, like, and share. Because truth of the matter is, as we are telling y'all that you need to mobilize with your vocals or your actions, this is part of that. If you guys love the platform and feel that it's important, share it to others. Tell 10 friends to share to 10 more friends. That's 100 people. If you keep going, 1,000 later on, 5,000. So at the end of the day, we need you as much as we need each other. Subscribe, support, like, and share, y'all. Thank you so much for this Sunday.
That's right. If you a podcaster, people want to know what your podcast is relevant to this moment right now. If you are a teacher, people want to know how you incorporating what's relevant into your lesson. It's not all about doing something unrelated and then jumping into a protest for one day. It's about what do you do on a daily basis and how do you use that platform, because that's where your power is in a relevant way to what's now. And I will say, I'm gonna say I usually don't recommend this track because I usually recommend, at different times, but I'm gonna recommend chapter 4, Provoked, of the self-control series, Self-Suffice, chapter 4, Provoked, because that song talks about what happens when you've been silent and passive for too long And now you need to switch into a more aggressive mode. And I think that's what time it is right now. And it also reveals in that your real enemy is always within you. So even as you switch into that aggressive mode, don't get addicted to blame. And that's the problem. People switch into aggressive mode and get addicted to blame. You're not switching into aggressive mode against the abuser. You're switching into aggressive mode about that weak, complacent part of yourself that you now need to never let be so ready to take the wrong reality again. You need to step up aggressively in creating a new reality by any means necessary.
That's a fact. With that being said,
By
Sound
any
Minds.
Wait, yes, you can. Yes, you can upload a segment to your IG. Forgot to tell y'all, anyone who tags us and uploads segments, whatever you think, if it's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, because we go mad long, whatever 15, 10 seconds you upload, we want to know what was the most powerful part to you, because we be in a zone just talking. What is the most valuable part? It might be 1 minute that's more powerful than this whole thing. We want to know what you, and we salute you for saying that, and tag us so we could repost it. Thank you, brother.
Right. Thank y'all very much. Yeah, everybody else, I mean, for the most part, we hour 30 in. Subscribe, support, like, and share. Tag us when you do put up the segments and the videos, please. You know, get other people to do it too. Our messages, our voices, our platform, they're as strong as the next ear. So if the next ear doesn't hear it, we fall on blind, you know, on blind sofas. We're here for y'all. And this is why we do what we do, y'all. Thank y'all so much again. These Sundays are not what they are if it ain't for the Sound Mind Sundays, right? And I think that is as empowered by those of you who join us and listen and share and like and so on and so forth. So I know it sounds robotic, right? You probably heard this in every single podcast you ever, but this right here, it's the truth. Let's get it in. Hip Hop Speaks, yo. Hip Hop
Sound
Speaks.
Minds.
Sound Minds.